How important is brand value?
Your brand always carries a reputation, whether that's good or bad, and it will ebb and flow depending on who you are and what you do. NHS is another great example. Over the years, with how they handled COVID, the strikes, how many times they go through general elections and changes, and what each government does to the NHS. Of are they spending, are they using the funding right? Are they not using the funding? There's so many bad connotations of poor reputation. Then you hear about overcrowded A&E, waiting 7 hours for an ambulance for somebody who stubbed the toe.
I think nowadays it's a lot easier for people to focus on the bad side of things than the good.
I don't know at the minute, people like the doom and gloom because it makes them feel a bit better about themselves.
How long can it take for a brand to see the results of branding correctly?
That is a very good question. Brand reputation doesn't happen overnight. It never will. I've been a bit naive in my own ability and gone, Facebook's right. They are doing it deliberately because they don't want one big brand absolutely cornering the market.
When I'm told, that I can't do something, or when I'm told no, it kind of makes you want to do it even more.
I don't think you can't for this. I don't think this is for you. And I'm like, what? I've just spent 4 years of my life training for this.
With entrepreneurship, it consists of constant dreams, constant visions. You're doing things left, right, center. So how did you draw that line of, I'm doing too much, let me slow down?
So my wife drew that line for me.
Hello everyone, welcome to the 5th episode of the FMU Founders Mindset Unfiltered podcast. My name is Albert Matthew, and we're joined here today with a guest who is currently in the digital marketing industry. Nearly 4 years ago, he launched his own digital marketing company called Slingshot Digital, where he guides businesses of all sizes through the world of digital marketing, whether that's help with social media marketing, branding and design, and all sorts. Over time, by building up his experience in the industry, he has been able to work and really impact the likes of the BBC, ITV, the NHS, and many more huge companies. Earlier on this year, his hard work and dedication was recognized as he was nominated for the Men in Business Awards under the category of Outstanding Male Entrepreneur, which was a huge milestone not only for him, but also for his business. On top of all of that, he also has a blog called A Life in Orange, where he expresses his love for motorsport and allows people to really understand the importance of motorsport marshals and their crucial impact to the sport. Without revealing too much just yet, it is my pleasure to welcome Robert Lee onto the podcast. Robert, it's lovely to have you join us today.
Nice to be on, Albert, and it's good to meet you as well. I mean, I think you pretty much summarised it there in
There we go.
60 seconds, a short podcaster. No, it's a pleasure to be part of the podcast, and thank you for the invite.
Thank you. How's your day been going?
Yeah, I said the preamble before this, warm. I've spent as much of it in the car as I can to make full benefit of the air conditioning.
Let's get right into it, Rob.
Let's get stuck in.
Do you prefer Rob or Robert?
Rob, if it's all going well. If we get Robert, it generally means I'm being told off by my mum, so we'll stick to Rob.
We'll stick with Rob. In that case, Rob, as we know, you are in digital marketing. How important is brand value?
Brand value is massively important. I've always had in the mindset of your logo and your company is what people say. Generally, when you're in the room, the brand is what people say when you're out of the room. And you look at the big brands in the world, your Coca-Colas, the McDonald's, Pepsi's, Nike's, they never stop marketing. They never stop with that brand value, and they always want to stay front and center. So there's a massive value-driven piece there. From the word go, you've got to be thinking long term. If I was a big organization, I'd never want to give this up because I never want to be second best to anybody.
What impact can it actually have for a business?
In terms of a business, your brand always carries a reputation, whether that's good or bad, and it will ebb and flow depending on who you are and what you do. A great example of this is when Liverpool signed I think it was a 5-year deal with New Balance to make their kits. Loads of people in Manchester who owned, and a friend of mine was one of these people who owned New Balance attire, threw it out because they didn't want to be associated with a brand that was associated with Liverpool. So there's your brand value straight away, and there's your recognition of it. So for a business, even small businesses and growing businesses that we work with, you've got to have that mindset straight away of, where do I see myself going? Where do I want to take this business? What do I want to be the best at? You're not going to be able to please everybody with your values, but as long as it fits the core people that you want to speak to, that's where you win. It doesn't matter that somebody's thrown the trainers out from Stretford in Manchester. It doesn't matter about that. Because if you've got 100,000 sales from people in Liverpool because they all want to be affiliated with the club, you'll take one to get 100,000. So there's your value. It's picking your battle almost.
Literally, what I was gonna say was, well, the question that I was going to ask was, is it always positive? Because we've also got Jaguar, for example, who went through a massive branding change. Their logo used to be, it was a Jaguar, literal, but now they've gone through, what was it? They've written out their name. It looks a bit more simple, but they faced a lot of backlash from the media, only from the media, from people,
From everybody.
everyone.
And it was part of were going to be, they'd rebranded, they'd got this new vision, these new values that they were going to be net zero. They were going to be a focus of the future. They were going to be cutting edge. They were going to be front line of where the motor industry was going to go. People were used to Jaguars making thumping great V8s, being part of the Land Rover brand as well, winning at Le Mans. People remember the big dirty cars that they made, and everybody wanted an E-Type. There's going to be a bit of time before people are going to be like, oh, everybody wants the Jaguar Concept What, if they ever get round to making the Concept What. So you're absolutely right. Brand, your reputation doesn't always have to be good. There can be bad things. The NHS is another great example. Over the years, with how they handled COVID, the strikes, how many times they go through general elections and changes, and what each government does to the NHS. Of, are they spending, are they using the funding right? Are they not using the funding? There's so many bad connotations of poor reputation. Then you hear about overcrowded A&E, waiting 7 hours for an ambulance for somebody who stubbed the toe. And that's the reputation that they've got to get past. So your job in terms of communications, PR, marketing for public sector organisations like that, and Jaguar as well, it's actually showing all the good things that they're doing. Why wouldn't a car manufacturer want to be carbon net zero or even carbon negative? That's amazing. Why would you not want to be that? But we are kind of stuck in that world of no. Old school is best. Let's make V8s and have everything a V8 and do 3 miles to the gallon. And so I do applaud kind of what Jaguar are doing and the way that they're going. They've been very bold. Do I agree with it? I don't know. That proof's in the pudding for that one. The NHS, having worked in it, there's so many good things that are going on there. So many good people, so many good stories. We talk about, it took 7 hours for that one ambulance to get to somebody who's had a fall. And it isn't right that they've been on the floor for 7 hours having a fall. But let's look at all the incidents and responses that they get to well below the target time, almost instantly. And when things are truly life-threatening, I had the privilege of doing a ride along on an ambulance a couple of years back. And we were going to a category 4. So category 4 is generally your lowest emergency of how they do to it. And a call came over the radio. It was category 1. Suspected cardiac arrest. The next roundabout, which was about 150 yards, blue lights went on. We were straight round the roundabout, and boom, we were off. Getting to that category 1, that cardiac arrest, and I think it took us about 90 seconds to get there. So it's things like that we don't shout about. I don't know at the minute. People like the doom and gloom because it makes them feel a bit better about themselves. But in terms of businesses and their brands, when it goes wrong, just think about all the good times when it's gone right, and how can we shout about them more, and how can we share them more with people, so people go, actually, this brand, they're all right. It's just they've had a one-off. They're a good brand that's potentially done a bad thing, but that's not who they are.
I think nowadays it's a lot easier for people to focus on the bad side of things than the good. And there's also that saying of no publicity is bad publicity.
Absolutely. Like, it gets your name out there, right there. Another piece of branding that was probably a great idea on paper was the was it the European Super League for football where they had
Yeah,
Liverpool,
that caused a
Chelsea,
huge uproar. Oh my
it was
god.
going to be this amazing league with the best of the best. They're going to be in it, and everybody went, we don't want that. But they were really reactive. Well, most of the teams were really reactive and went, well, we realise it's a bad idea. It wasn't the right thing for us as a club. We recognise it. We listen to the fans. We're going to pull out of it. And, you look at then who had set it up, and this was a concept that had come from the Real Madrid, the president of Real Madrid, I think it was. Now, fair play to him, because he's thinking as a businessman, is how do I make my best team better? I need to be playing the best in Europe every single year. I don't really want to be going to, I don't know if Elche are any good, but I'm sorry for picking on them. If anybody's listening from Elche, I've got nothing against you. You probably really love the club. They probably won't learn that much playing Elche every week, but playing Liverpool and Arsenal and Juventus and Bayern every week, they're going to learn something different. So as a businessman, great move. As a sport, terrible idea. And it's just understanding what your brand base is and what your fan base is, and everybody kind of went against it.
And they genuinely caused a huge uproar as well. I remember, because I supported Liverpool myself, and I was begging online, don't join this, don't join this. It's going to ruin the reputation.
But then was it kind of to put the flip on it, was it just a marketing ploy of going, this is never going to happen, but we'll put rumours and sparks in there like it's going to be. And all the teams around, Liverpool, who was invited? Was it Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal?
Chelsea, Arsenal, and then there was a few.
Were Tottenham invited as well?
I think so, yeah.
But then it's got like United, City, Everton, all these other big teams missed out going, well, we're as good as them. Why have we not been invited? He's got their back up a bit as well. So has he not done more for the brand of English football? Was it just a little marketing trick? My favourite example of something crazy in marketing, branding, that's got everybody talking about something was Rugby League Club. They were Lee Centurions. They'd been Lee Centurions for 20 years at that point. And then what felt like almost an impulse, we're like, no, we're just going to be called Lee Leopards now. Completely rebranded it. Everybody still talks about it. Everybody talks about the fact that it wasn't, you don't know whether it was a leopard on the jersey. It might have been a Jaguar. It might have been a Puma. It might not. Does it matter? You're talking about Lee, and he's got the stands packed out 75 to 100% capacity every week now. Is he bothered? Absolutely not. He doesn't care that they're called the Leopards, but as a brand, you're talking about them. He's got his stand packed. He's winning.
He is, and he's won in the end as well.
Yeah, with the Challenge Cup winner as well in his first year of rebranding. Just shows it worked.
So then, what are the common mistakes that you see that people always do when they try and develop their brand?
There's two ends of the spectrum. They either try and do too much too quick, then they scale rapidly, and then they forget to do all the things that they've done because they've just not got the time. Or they do too little, if that makes sense, because they've not got a proper strategy in place. You could scale any business however you wanted to with the right marketing strategy if you broke it down into bite-sized achievable chunks. The things that I hear all the time, specializing more in social media management, is, oh, we don't have time, we've got no content, we don't know when to post, we don't know what to post. So we work with them to build a strategy of how they can gather content, how they can figure out what their narrative is. And it does come back a bit to branding of, do they have a tone of voice from the beginning, from the outset? They might not. It's how do we develop that tone of voice? Who's our target audience? Where are they lurking? Where are they hiding? I think I like throwing out the stat. I think it's about there's 5.5 billion social media users in the world. That's almost that's almost everybody in the world has social media. Now, some people will have duplicate channels. But if you've got that many people online, it's not a case of if your target audience is out there, it's where they are. So if you're selling a professional service, such as maybe IT, managed IT services, or let's think of another, you're a facilities manager and you're looking for a cleaner, you're probably not going to go to Facebook. You might Google it. You might go on LinkedIn. So it's understanding where your target audience is. So when I say people try and do a bit of everything, they'll throw a few quid paid ads each day, like $5 a day, and hope that it'll capture a lead. They'll do a bit of social media ad hoc, or they'll do some SEO, but then nothing really converts with SEO in 3 months. So they'll give it up because it's not working. They'll try and do some publication and publicity, and then they'll always say the same thing of, "Oh, word of mouth is always best for us." And that's generally the full circle that they go to. If you pick once you understand where your target audience is, so I'll take mortgages as a great example. I would never go on Facebook or on LinkedIn to find a mortgage. I'd Google it. How do I remortgage my house? What's the best rate for a mortgage at the minute? Who does mortgages near me? And I'd start there. So we're already taking and that's not a hard bit of research to do. We've just done that, in 30 seconds? Like, where do you start or looking for a mortgage? So let's start at that point. Okay, so we know that people Google mortgages. So let's create a website and content that converge, asking really pointed questions. So can I get an interest-only rate mortgage because I'm over 55? Can I take a mortgage out because I'm 70? What options do I have for mortgaging as a first-time buyer? Really direct, pointed questions. We're gonna build a strategy all around Google, and we're gonna start with SEO. We've not even thought. Forget social media, forget paid ads. We've got a really good website. We're gonna make it convert first. We're gonna work on SEO. So we're gonna start here. So we're still doing something. We're gonna give that 12 months, and once that starts growing, we're gonna be like, right, let's do a bit more outreach now. Let's think about what are we gonna do next. Do we have the budget for paid ads? All right, we don't have the budget for paid ads yet because that's a bit too much. But we've got a mortgage advisor within our company who is really good at talking. He's really good at going to events and saying what we're good at. So why don't we get him in front of the camera and do LinkedIn videos and TikTok videos just to educate people? Again, asking those. We've already got the content over here on SEO. Let's just repackage that over here onto TikTok. So the question is, as a presenter, the question is here. What options do I have as a first-time buyer? Boom, boom, boom. These are our answers. If you want a bit more, come to us and we can offer some free advice for it. Perfect. Right, that's the next stage done. So we've now done SEO, we've done social media, and all those things are still happening at the same time. We've got a bit more of a budget. Do you know what? We've got enough of a budget now to think about doing paid ads. So we'll do paid ads. So instead of trying to do everything and spread ourselves too thin, we've focused on one. And we've gone, right, that's step 1, that's step 2, step 3, step 4, step 6 or 7 might be, let's go to a big business expo. We'll give an hour talk on mortgages, or let's go to a university and we'll do a free workshop for people coming out of university of what they need to know about getting a mortgage. Something like that. And again, it's just constantly thinking about what those different bits and pieces are. Don't get drawn into the trap of we have to do everything straight away. We don't. Let's find our target audience first and speak directly to it. And if you think that there's nothing to talk about, absolutely is. Put yourself in the shoes of, your target audience. What are you buying? Let's pick something completely random. Lego. Who buys Lego? Well, at the minute, it seems everybody because they've got a really good brand. But you're going to see, once you start seeing the visuals of, I think it was, I saw a video on Instagram and they've made a big Lego F1 car, big Lego McLaren. I was like, how cool would that be if they made that into a smaller buildable version? And then the next thing I saw was, there's the smaller buildable version of that Lego F1 car that I really want to build. Let's buy it. And that was it. That was the whole thought process. I saw something that I thought, that's really cool. Imagine if I could buy that. Oh, look, I can't, because I went looking for Lego. And then after that, it's like, right, I want something fun to do. Christmas presents. What's a good Christmas present? Bit of Lego. Right. How can I build this? I got, it was my grandma. Unfortunately, she passed away a couple of years back, but she left us a bit of money in a will. And she said, but use that money to enjoy yourself. And the first thing I did was, I'm going to go to the Lego shop and buy that really big Lego set, which is well out of my price range. But my grandma's told me I should enjoy myself. And that's all come from seeing that one advert and that one bit of marketing 2, 3, 4 years ago. Why would you, and they've just drip fed that. And they've just stayed, front and center of mind.
So what it is it's really about, understanding your business, taking your time, and just understanding your target audience as well.
Absolutely. Your target audience is out there. They've got to be out there. If you set up a business and there's absolutely no target audience, that is probably the most unique thing I've ever heard. And I would love to meet that person. But there's always a target audience out there. And for anybody listening going, I don't know what my target audience is, or how do I figure out what my target audience is? The question that you've got to ask yourself is, the service or the products or whatever I'm offering, what problem does it solve? And once you understand the problem that it solves, you've then got to ask the next question of, well, who has these problems? I'm trying to think of a really good example of, here we go. Your car breaks down. That's the problem. Who has these problems? Everyday people have these problems. I mean, mine threw up a warning light on the way here. I turned the aircon off and it went off again. I'm pretty sure it's going to be something to do with the air conditioning unit. So now I've got a problem with my air conditioning. I've got a problem with my car. So now I'm going to be Googling, I'm going to be searching for the nearest car garages, who can service it, who can inspect it. If it's we'll give you a free vehicle check, I'm more likely to go with something like that. So it's slowly, that's the problem is my air conditioning unit's probably on the brink. But the solution is we're a car garage that's located half a mile down the road that gives a free vehicle health check. Or we just so happen to help with air conditioning units. You've attached a service to a problem. Who has that problem? Everyday folk. Stamp duty, going back to mortgages, who pays stamp duty? Well, first time buyers don't. So that's great. They're not our target audience. But people looking to buy the next home, there's your target audience straight away. Who's looking to move? Who's looking to remortgage? Who's looking to move? Who's looking to buy a new property? Are you moving into a property with your partner and they've previously had their own house? You still have to pay stamp duty. It's answering these questions and finding that specific.
Let's say then, for example, we've got a business that they're really struggling to understand the concept of branding correctly. Like they're going all in at once and it's just not working out for them. Do you think then, if that's the case, they should outsource their problems to companies like yours? Or do you think that they should keep going, keep trying, and maybe find a deeper understanding?
A bit of both. A deeper understanding, definitely. I think there'd be a very good piece there of understanding what the business is, what their target market is, and the problem that they're solving. To then say yes or no to outsourcing would depend on budget. But the analogy I like to use is you can pull a tooth out yourself at home. It's incredibly painful to do it yourself at home. Or you can pay about 150 quid and let the dentist do it for you. I know where I'd rather go. And this is coming from somebody who absolutely hates the dentist. I would rather have that peace of mind of, I'm going to a clean, sterile environment where an expert is going to take that tooth out in the best way possible, pack it the right way, and I'm going to have the best aftercare. Or I can get some pliers out the garage that probably haven't been cleaned since I did some gardening work, pull it out myself, risk infection, probably leave myself in big agony. I can save myself £150, but for the peace of mind and the hassle afterwards, I'd go to the expert. Obviously, if you've not got 150 quid to get your tooth pulled, it's a different story. So that's where it's a nice balance. Maybe get somebody in at first who can do you a bit of a brand strategy, a bit of a marketing strategy to get you on the right path. If you can do things yourself, it might be that you can do the social media yourself. For now, because you've got capacity, but then specialist things like putting paid ads on, SEO, web development, you may want to outsource them.
But nowadays, well, actually, for a long time now, people have been expecting change to come fast. How long can it take for a brand to see the results of branding correctly?
That is a very good question. So I'll strip this back a bit. So paid ads, you're still looking at a probably 6 to 12 month lead time of Google or wherever you're doing your ads, trusting you and really honing in on your brand correctly. SEO, 12 to 18 months. That's not just to make the SEO agencies earn more money. They're going to craft a bit of content, get that up on your website. That's probably going to take them a couple of weeks. Then they've got to do all the work in the back end to make sure that it's ranking correctly, and all the work after that to make sure that the content's being pushed to the right places, getting the correct backlinks, building the right bridges, and then Google's got to trust that content. So the first bit of content that you might get might land on page 5, which is nobody's going to look there. So then there's a lot of work to then get that very trusted piece from 5 to 1. If you've got a service or a product that can be bought quite quickly, like social media, you could maybe get quicker results doing social media ads. So say if you are selling a wellness spa honey type product that everybody wants, but you can't get it in the shops for love nor money, and you're selling it for cheaper or a more cost-effective rate, I should say, then you might be able to pick up a few quicker wins on social media. But then again, even within social media, it's not instant. It's not just going to be a one day and you're sold out. Facebook might be quicker. Instagram might be quicker. My wife and I were having this discussion because we've got a wedding business as well on the side. I said, oh, what about Pinterest? Pinterest would be great for weddings. She was like, at the minute, it's going to take you too long to build a following. You're not going to get a sale from there. I'm like, all right, how long are we talking on Pinterest? She went, just varies. She said, there's no set rate. So I was like, even I'm still learning something like that. She spent 8 years building a Tumblr account that got to 16,000 followers. 8 years to get to 16,000 followers for just a fan-based chat forum for, I can't remember what it was, but 8 years to build that is a long time. Because of how quick AI's come about, we do probably expect things quicker, instant messages, WhatsApp, hitting a like on Facebook, sharing something to somebody. Everything's become so quick, and we have kind of expected everything to be so quick, but sales, confidence, brand, tone of voice, everything like that is going to take some time, because you wouldn't just buy a new product straight away. I mean, let's look at McDonald's. If you'd never heard of McDonald's before and a brand new building popped up with a big golden arch that said McDonald's, red logo, said, we're selling you food, you'd be like, hang on a minute, you're going to sell me a burger in 2 minutes. Is that, you might have I'd be like, really? Can a burger be made in 2 minutes? Is that trusted? But they've done all the hard work in, was it the 40s, 50s, 60s? They've done all that hard work. They've even got a film about McDonald's now. It's just crazy. They've built up their reputation over decades. I mean, a bit of a different era in terms of there was no social media, there was no instant messaging and stuff like that. So everything's going to have been a bit delayed. But even now, we're at a point where people don't bat an eyelid about McDonald's. Say with Nando's, they've built a brand. I mean, I love a Nando's. I was a sucker from it from day one. I was just like, you're going to sell me chicken with different spices on it? Absolutely, mate. I am there. But I was their target market. I was a student. I liked chicken. It was something a bit different. I thought I was eating classy and not fast food. Still eating fast food. I thought it was a step above KFC. I was like, I'm just having fancy KFC. I get to have a knife and fork. I am above these peasants. I'm not. I'm just eating chicken in a different medium. But they knew who the target market was, and they built up that brand reputation. And now they're just everywhere. They're absolutely everywhere. I mean, they were sponsoring I think it was the Manchester Half Marathon in May.
McDonald?
Nando's.
Nando's, oh wow.
Yeah, it's just like, makes sense. Chicken's protein.
There we
Runners
go.
need protein. I'll take 3 chicken wings. You add that to my order. You guarantee I did that after that run. But it works. It takes time. The brand reputation doesn't happen overnight. It never will. The NHS is 80 years old. I think we're coming up to in, well, what was it? Coming up, I need to get my maths right. I worked with them when they went past NHS 70. That was 2018. So yeah, we're coming up to 80 years in 3 years' time. Their reputation from day one, it was a very trusting environment back in the 40s when it came about. It had to be. We'd just come out of a war. The country was rebuilding itself. Everybody needed to trust each other. So free healthcare, great. What a great way of people trusting each other. And then now, 8 years on, we need to sometimes remember the values of when we first started. So the NHS for me gets a lot of stick. But the people that work in there, absolute heroes for me. Just going off on a tangent.
Without a doubt. High for them, they need it.
Yeah, they deserve it.
There we go. How have you then, let's change the topic a little bit. How have you then changed a brand for the best by using your skills and your business?
Yeah, love it. It's a good question. One that we used probably quite recently, we worked with a motorsport team, a truck racing team, and they were the front of the grid, very like championship leading team. They raced 2 trucks once a month. And in themselves, they were a very professional outfit. But then there was nothing that was saying going outbound. I mean, the marketing manager, Katie, she was doing a fantastic job. She still does a fantastic job. And she did the best with what she had and what was available to her. And that's what you can do sometimes. So we got talking, we were introduced via a mutual friend, and we were like, right, if we do graphic design in this style and we create this, how will that look? And the idea was, we know we're a professional outfit. We know it's a professional outfit. How can we turn it into an even more professional outfit? And the look and the feel, and really set the benchmark for it. So that was a positive change that we did with just one of our services, just graphic design. Another one that we did was, if they're actually our oldest client, they probably won't mind me saying this as well. So they're a company called Northern Engineering based in Standish. When we first set up, they trusted us. They trusted me, I should say, to build social media channels for them and rebuild their website. If you first step into business, it's scary. It's like this company that's been around for nearly 40 years at this point is trusting me with their shop window and their social media. So it was a big task for me. Well, quite a weighty task, I should say. But from then we've completely set up a social media channel for LinkedIn, and that's growing steadily. Really nice, really good interactions, just showcasing the work that they do. Facebook, that again has got more traction on it, more views on it. We've redone their website. I think it's twice now in 3 years, because we were talking to one target audience and then that slightly changed. So we talked to another one. We needed to adjust it to go with it. But what we get now is the feedback is they look an even more professional outfit that matches the work that they do. They didn't look like they were a professional outfit before. They do now, and that's, we take pride in that. It's really nice to see. And the final one, I think you spoke to John Galloway. So John, we do work with John for Speed of Sight charity. It's a great charity. And this is a kind of a slightly different change that we made when we first started working with them, and we were trying to understand what content was available. They maybe had 10, 15 pieces of content that we could get out on social media each month. And now it's like every day there's a message coming in. It's going, can we use this? Should we do this? What about this? And I'm like, this is what we want. So we've actually changed their mindset of how they think towards marketing.
As you mentioned before, obviously, when it was with your oldest clients who was in Northern Engineering, when you first stepped in, I mean, you said it yourself, you're a bit, they were trusting you with that side of their business. It can be quite nervous. It can be quite nerve-wracking for someone doing so. So how were you able to handle that pressure? Because some businesses, they might not be able to. That might be their breaking point.
It might be, and for anybody who's kind of thinking about setting up their own business or going solo, you're going to be faced with that at some point. You're going to get a project and you're going to, I mean, I'll have to swear on this podcast. No, okay. I will sense myself, you're going to think, this is hard work. This is, how do I go home and just get on with this? But then you've got to think, well, why did I set up, why did I set up this business? And it's because you've got the skill sets beneath you. So for me, I knew I could build websites. I knew I could run social media channels. I knew I could pull on my graphic design skills. And that's what they were asking me to do. So the overwhelm of, I need to deliver this website, which was at the time the most expensive website that I'd quoted for. And I was only 6 months into business at that time. I was like, right, this is a big step forward. But he's still building a website. He's still getting the content together. He's still making it look good. And he's still doing all those skills that we originally set out to do. Yes, the goals are bigger, but the building blocks underneath of why I went solo are still there. So it was kind of stripping it back to basics, and you're understanding I can do it. And it's kind of reaffirming that it's nothing outside of what you're doing. And it's kind of sitting on the periphery of what you can and can't do. And that's a really exciting place to sit, just on that edge of where's comfortable and uncomfortable, because that's where you're going to get your most growth. If it's uncomfortable, you're just going to shut down and it's not going to work. And if it's too comfortable, you're just going to operate in that little sphere. But when you're on that cusp of stepping from one to the other, that's where you'll see your growth, because you might find something that you enjoy, or you might find something that you hate and go, well, I'll steer clear of that for the future.
And so it's kind of like, if you have full confidence in yourself, you can do these skills, it's nothing new. So as long as you have that full confidence, then it works.
Yeah, full confidence is a big one. But if you don't quite have full confidence, lean on the people who are around you. I've been very fortunate that I've had 2 very good business partners from day one. One that I've known now, how long have I known James? 13, 14 years. We started playing rugby together in the early 2010s. So we are very straight talking people towards each other. And then Anthony, who joined the venture from day one in nearly 4 years ago now. He was very understanding. He'd been there. He'd done multiple businesses doing different things. He understood what both of them did. They've both been they both are business owners. They know the challenges of when you're first starting out. And they knew the nerves and the pressure and the feelings that I would be going through at the 6-month point when I'm trying to deliver this $3,500 website or whatever it was at the time.
As I mentioned before, so some businesses, that could be the breaking point, and they might not be fortunate enough to have, those business partners to maybe rely on, and it can lead to failures. So what I do want to talk about is, have you got any marketing, campaigns that didn't go as well? Have you had any failures? And what I'm trying to ask is, Rob, what did you do wrong?
So there's one that I can think of quite clearly as, like, it's not so much a marketing failure, but it was a business failure. And I had this idea along with a friend that we were going to set up a podcast and we were going to talk about music, and we were going to talk about all the new releases that come out of music, our experiences, try and get some guests on, and we were very good at doing it. Then COVID hit, and we found we had more time to look at it, and it was growing well. We were talking to rock bands down in Brighton. We were talking to guitarists of upcoming bands. We nearly got the lead singer of the Leopards on one podcast. So we were buzzing, we were flying. Then COVID was over. We went back to work, and we decided, we've just not got the time. But we'd done it before, where we had less time than we had after COVID. So we were just like, should we just give it up then? And it was a time thing, but looking back, we had the time to do it. I think we just kind of got a bit overwhelmed, but we didn't really have a steer of where it was going. We just kind of gone, should we do a music podcast? Yeah, great idea. Let's crack on. So it was kind of a ready, fire, aim, if that makes sense, instead of a ready, aim, fire. If I was to go back and do it again, I'd be like, right, well, what kind of music do we want to talk about? Do we want to become specialists in hard rock, punk rock, prog rock, pop music, charts only? Do we want to talk about American folk music? What do we want to talk about? What is our end goal? Do we want to become experts in indie music? Well, not really, because we'll just be competing with Radio X all the time. They are experts in indie music. That is their underlying value if you look at it. They're very good at finding up and coming new indie music. So we knew we couldn't compete with that. And that's what our bread and butter was. So I could have known straight away that it wouldn't have fit another more specifically campaign since we started Slingshot. We try to think which one's the better one here. We ran a Facebook ad campaign for it was the honey. I think it was honey. It was this Manuka honey that we ran a Facebook campaign for. And as we were going through setting it up, and I'd convinced myself that Facebook was the right place for this product to go. And then as I clicked launch and publish this ad, I thought, I'm sure Google's probably better. And what I'd not done in that build-up is look to see how much traffic words like Manuka honey, Tahuna honey, whatever it is, gets on Google. I'd been a bit naive in my own ability and gone, Facebook's right. And it taught me a lesson quite quickly. We moved the ad to Google and it's doing well. So a bit of naivety there of thinking one thing when actually the other thing's not right. And anybody who's going into a campaign or something like that and they're thinking this is right, you might be correct, but just spare an hour just to check out the alternative, because you might surprise yourself. You might reaffirm that you are 100% correct. And you're like, I want to do an Instagram campaign because that's the right place, but I'm just going to check out Facebook, LinkedIn, and Google to make sure I'm not missing something. Look at it. No, I'm not missing something. Instagram it is. Oh, you can get something and go, oh my God, there's such a need for this on LinkedIn. Instead of spending money on Instagram, why not I go over to LinkedIn and do this? I might get results faster. That is probably the one that most predominantly sticks out to me, is because I was a bit sure in my own ability and what I was thinking was right, that I kind of dismissed that one. Maybe it's a bit of ignorance and arrogance from me. I hope not. I was hoping it was just a genuine mistake, but we were able to rectify it quickly. And that's the other bit of learning from that, is once you see where the better solution is, the quicker you rectify it, the less money you lose. Which everybody likes losing less money.
Let's say if a marketing strategy fails, how do you know where to pivot to? How do you know what that next step is then? Because for a lot of people, once they put a marketing strategy out and they see that, it's not really brought in the results that they'd hoped, they kind of feel lost and, they're quite confused. So how do you know where that next step is?
So the first bit is the bit where you've got to pick yourself up after being absolutely demoralized. That is probably your hardest point. It might just be a case of the best laid plans never leave the drawing board and we needed to be a bit more practical, or there's something within our research that wasn't quite right and things point the other way. It can be something as simple as we expected the market to do one thing and it's done something else. It's about potentially finding that point where everything was working up to. If it's failed from day one, that's a different story to unpick that. You've very much got to go back to the drawing board and think, was our target audience correct? Is our tone of voice right? Is our product right to fit the pain point? If it's failed halfway down the line, you were doing well on social media, you were doing well in the early stages of SEO, and now you tried paid ads and it's failed. What's happened? There might have been a new product that's come into the market and completely disrupted what you've done. So the first point you've got to do is you've got to strip it all back and go, what factors were in and out of my control that have changed this? People who deal with stocks and shares, when Russia declared war on Ukraine, I bet you they weren't expecting that. That is, how quick can we pivot to, do we think it's going to be a short war? Do we think it's going to be a long war? Do we try and exit now to cut our losses? Do we try and stay in to recover our losses? There are so many thoughts, but that's something that's way out of anybody's control that you can't really predict. And that drove the prices of everything up. So then how do you market that? Well, this is something out of our control. Is everybody else in the same boat? Yes. Is there anything that we can do that is going to change the results? No. Right, okay. We maybe just need to keep on course then and just keep recovering from the position that we're given it. Is this a factor that we've done in-house? Yes. Okay, how quick can we rectify that? Is it something that we need to rectify? And don't forget as well, sometimes, you get marketing campaigns that look like they've failed, if they've failed in comparison to the marketing campaign, but they've been a success. It could. I'm trying to think of a good example of a good use for one, and then plan for something and it's gone off in a different tangent. I mean, AI was probably one that was designed to do one thing, and the plan was it was going to be this all singing, all dancing tool that will get you any information at the drop of a hat and build out plans. And now people are using it to automate half of their life. I'm sure that wasn't in their marketing plan, but as soon as they were like, oh, that's the route it's going, let's change our marketing plan. And then they've worked off the back of that. I was looking at, is it Motion AI, the AI calendar? I was just like, oh, I'll look at that. I'll see if it works for me. And then it was trying to sell me an automated bot that's going to do all my emails for me. I was like, that's not something I expected and not something I'd come looking for. But again, that's a pivot point again. And sometimes yes, your plans failed in reality of what you were originally set out to do, but it's what the new trajectory, what you're after, better. If it's not, how do you then get it back and then get it back on course again? There's a lot more to unpick than just if it's failed, where do you go? Because it might fail for a good reason, which is really strange to say. It sounds really strange.
Even with AI, just when you're even scrolling through social media, the amount of AI videos I've seen, whether it's, and it's mainly funny ones as well. It's actually funny ones as well. They're actually quite funny. So they have gained, as you said, it wasn't in the initial plans, but the amount of viral stuff that's came out of it, I don't think anyone would be complaining.
No, absolutely. That was making you money. You wouldn't be complaining. So we were looking at helping a brand set up. It was a brand new race series. And they were still trying to set, and I can't remember what the age category was. It was aimed at, but it were trying to sell that this race would appear on a TV channel that somebody's grandma may still watch. I'm like, these are 16, 17-year-old kids that are going to be racing in it. They're not going to be watching whatever channel it is. They're not. That doesn't fit. And I think Janetta was the other brand, their competitor brand, saw this and switched all their races onto a live stream on YouTube and put all their highlights out on TikTok and Instagram. And their coverage just went. And that's because they knew that TikTok was, I think it's like the third biggest medium for watching sports and sports highlights. Third biggest after YouTube and I think it's Sky Sports. Third biggest. That's mega. And they saw that and they jumped on it straight away. It's probably not the idea that they had originally, but they pivoted their plan like, let's jump into this. Because then say it's a junior series, the 15-year-olds, they've got the phone at school and they can like get it up on it like TikTok or YouTube and then go, oh, look, this is my race. This is me. You're not going to get your Skybox out in your big 50-inch TV to school and like, look, this is me racing the other day. Everyone's going to be like, what's he doing? What's Brett doing? Like, why has he got a TV? He's just going to be called TV Kid after that. It's just, forget, he's not going to be called Janetta Boy anymore. It's like TV Kid's here again. He's a bit off. And so it's that as well. It's playing into your target audience of how are they consuming? We're back to this again. How are they consuming the content that you're trying to sell? So if it's a TikTok video.
With the way social media is moving nowadays as well, it's constantly changing. We've got new trends, new everything. Would you say it's harder for brands to maybe, keep up with these times?
They're always changing the algorithm and the trends deliberately. And I think they're doing it deliberately I don't think they are doing it deliberately because they don't want one big brand absolutely cornering the market. They don't want, let's say, a Nike. They don't want them absolutely suffocating the life out of the sports athleisure brand. They don't want that. They want that competition, because if a TikTok or an Instagram allowed somebody like Nike to suffocate their social media platforms with their brand, they would lose money from the likes of Puma, Gymshark, Adidas, all the other athleisure brands, because they won't say, well, there's no point going on them because we're not going to get past Nike. Whereas they're constantly changing the algorithm and tinkering with it and just altering the trends very slightly, it's an open playing field every day of the week. You don't know what content's going to do well or not. People are jumping, like music as well is another big one as well, which what influenced trends. So the Formula One film came out a couple of weeks back, and if you weren't,
Is that the one with?
yeah, the one with Brad Pitt, and essentially, if you weren't putting F1 music on your TikTok, you weren't ranking. Like, it's madness. But then in a week's time, people will forget that Brad Pitt ever did an F1 movie. And that's how quick trends change. To predict what the next thing will be, if you can do that, that's as good as winning the lottery these days.
Based off everything that you've said, it's obvious that you have vast experience in this industry. It's all added up. Is that the reason why you started your own company, or is there other reasons?
Partly because that. I mean, the journey to starting Slingshot, I'd love to say it was this long, convoluted, brilliant ideas that I'd had for years, but it was probably a bit more on a whim than that. So after university, so I studied sports journalism at university. I tried to do some freelance work. Didn't quite pay that well. I was already doing some work in the NHS, but in a different sector of it. I think I was working in the finance team. And I was like, I really want to use my degree, what I've got. I really want to use my skills of writing and finding a story and looking after marketing and communications. So it was actually my dad said to me, like, look, why don't you go and find a job in the NHS in the communications team? You can still do PR, you'll still talk to media outlets, but essentially, instead of you being paid last as a freelancer, you'll be paid first. I was like, that's a really good way of looking at it. So, went and got a job. 7 years later, I'd worked in the NHS for 10 years, and 7 of those have been in communications. But the last job I had with Northwest Ambulance Service, which was an absolute great place to work, was only a temporary contract. It was about 18 months. And I was like, I need something at the end of that. So I was still out looking for jobs. The plan to set up a business hadn't even popped into my head at that point. It was like, I need a job. And James, who I mentioned before, a friend of mine, he rang me up one day. He said, where do you see yourself going in life? So what's your ambition? I went, I'd like to be a chief exec of something someday, like a big boss. Like, have a team, work with them. It's a bit selfish, but it might be a bit arrogant, but that's kind of where I want to go. He's like, right, leave it with me. And I'm like, oh, is he just going to go find me a chief exec job? This is amazing. And then he rang me back. I think it was a day later, and he was like, do you want to meet for breakfast on Sunday? I want to introduce you to a friend of mine called Anthony. I was like, yeah, sure, not a problem. So we met over for breakfast. The place that we met for breakfast did a great breakfast, but it's closed down now, and so I can't even plug that place. And he was like, I want you to build me a new website, but I also want you to run my social media channels. And Anthony was like, I want the same. I'm like, all right, okay. And then Anthony was like, but I also want you to help Northern Engineering out. I didn't know they were called Northern Engineering. So I want you to help a friend of mine out with their social media channels. They want to start tendering for work. They need more of an online presence. I'm like, I'm sure I can do that. They're like, what do you do at the minute in the NHS? I said, well, I look after the website. I look after the social media channels, and I do the graphic design. They went, oh, this is perfect. And there was kind of like a quiet moment where we all kind of sat eating, but we were all thinking, and I think it was James was just like, this is just a business. Should we just set this up as a business? And we all went, yeah, all right. And then that genuinely,
That's what happened.
that's it.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
I wish there was a, I'd fallen out of love with this, and I'd was like, stick it to the big guy, and I'm going to go set up. No, none of that. We were literally having breakfast, and we're like, should we turn it into a business? Yeah, sure.
And that's how
And the
we do it,
name,
to be honest.
yeah, and the name came from The Martian, the film with Matt Damon in it, because Donald Glover's on about a celestial event called a slingshot, where you use the gravity of a planet to accelerate and turn at the same time without expending energy turning. You let the planet turn you, and you can change direction, but build speed. So that's where a slingshot came from, and that is called a slingshot. So that's where the name Slingshot Digital came from as well.
And with Slingshot Digital, are you so you've obviously got James and what was your other friend's name?
Anthony,
Anthony. You've got James and Anthony as business partners. Have you got any staff at the moment, or
if you were to ask me, the answer's no. If you were to ask my
okay?
wife, the answer's yes. It's not it's a no at the moment. It is actually something that over the next few weeks, months, we are probably going to be expanding the team, which is a very exciting part. We're looking at taking on an apprentice, and maybe even a permanent member of staff, just because we've joined a business referral group. We've taken on more work. People have got wind of the work that we do. The Motorsport paddock has been absolutely fantastic to us as well. That's helped us generate work, and we've just grown from there. So now I'm at the point of, I don't really want to be working at 11:30 at night when I've got an 11-month-old kid as well, and no doubt she's going to be up at midnight. So I'm going to be turning my computer off, going straight into the room next door to pick up a baby that started crying because they're hungry, and I'm like, I also need to sleep. So I think it's a very nice time to consider expanding.
I think so. In that case, how do you? Because obviously you're planning for it to happen in the future. So how do you plan to find the right people that fit your brand?
Thankfully and luckily, I've got a rather good business relationship with a woman called Amanda, who she's just moved companies actually. I don't know the name of her current company, but she's a recruiter, and she specializes in recruiting apprentices into businesses, especially digital marketing and IT. So I think I dropped her a line on LinkedIn or a ring. I can't quite remember. It was just like, right, Amanda, so this is the point I'm getting to. I might need an apprentice, but they need to fit my values. So I had that very open conversation with her. She knows what I'm like. She knows what the business is like. How can we find that right attitude to fit? And also talking to people as well. Talking to people is a great way of understanding what their attitude is. I was introduced to somebody, and they might potentially be a candidate for the apprenticeship. They're very driven. She's very driven. She's very good at creatives. She's currently working in retail, I think, and she wants to break into the digital marketing world. I know her attitude is hyper focused and very good. So that's a good place to start. Attitude's one of them. You need it. You can teach everything else, but it's the attitude that you can't teach. So I've got two very good people. Amanda's looking after me, and I'm quite happy to go out and talk to people as well. And colleges are another good resource for people as well. So I've got in touch back with my old college, Winstanley, and I know that the kids coming out of Winstanley College, or the young adults coming out of Winstanley College, have exactly the same mindset as what I did when I came out of college, because they're the kind of people that they take on and they nurture. So I know that I'm going to be getting somebody very like me.
Finding the right staff is one thing that's very important for a business. But another thing that's incredibly important is finding the right client. Because there's times where you'll find those clients that, might cause you a bit of trouble. They don't really agree on anything that, that you want to do. And there's a bit of clash. So how do you find your clients?
At first, when you're first starting out, you don't really have the blessing to say no. You will take on anything. As you start progressing in business and you understand your own business a bit better, of where you want to go, where you see yourself going, that's when you'll see clients that align with you. And when you get to 4 years down and you've figured all that out, and look, you will make mistakes in the first 4 years. You'll take on clients that aren't the right fit. Don't worry about it. It happens. when you get to 4 years down the line, you'll have processes in place, you'll have an understanding in place where you'll go and you'll meet these people, you'll get to know a bit more about them first. Now, I'm a member of BNI. Don't shoot me, anybody who doesn't like BNI. It's every chapter's different, and you need to find the right one. It's like anything. You'll find the right one to fit you. That's it, if you like it. And they've got the motto, they've got one of their values of know, like, and trust. And when you're looking at BNI from the outside, you think, oh, it's just this American organization. It's full of really fluffy language. It's not. If you actually look at it and you apply the values that they've got, especially know, like, trust, the clients that you want to work with, you pick them out in a crowd. The clients that you don't want to work with, you'll understand how you can just be like, this is not the right fit for us. And with clients, you've got to like them to get the best results out of them, and for them to open up to you, they've got to like you as well. And that's how I go out and see it. I go and I meet people, and I have a face-to-face conversation with them. I'll have a coffee, or we'll go for cake, or cake's always a good winner with people.
100%.
Because if somebody's ordering carrot cake, they are not the right fit for me. They're
Never.
out. But if somebody's ordering a tiramisu,
Send that man.
we are going all the way to the moon together. I can guarantee that. But it's like, it's finding the right people, and you'll find common interests. So the reason why the motorsport paddock's so good for me is because we've got that love of motorsport. You walk in, it's like, oh, they love this, they'll love that. It's like, yes, so do I. I love those things as well. So that's why it works. I wouldn't walk into a football stadium and think, all these people are my target audience, because they're not. Football's not my big. I can talk about football, but after 20 minutes, if somebody said, oh, do you remember such and such a body who played for United in the late 90s? The answer is probably not. I know Teddy Sheringham, and that's it. Can we talk about him? No, we'll talk to him. All right, well, I'm out there. Rugby's another one. Got a common interest in rugby. I can talk to you for days. Then after that, you've got to find those things that make you tick. And if there's nothing, absolutely nothing in common between you and your clients, it's purely business, you may find strains, because you can't have that mutual agreement in the middle of something. And that's where I find the clients that I like mainly just wander around motorsport paddocks, because they're all sound people for me.
Yeah.
We're all a bit crazy as well.
There we go. But even with some clients, it takes a while to kind of break them down. You have to take little steps. And actually, while I was doing my research on you, there was one thing that you said that really stuck, and it was, even a small step means growth. Have you got any milestones that confirm that theory?
When we started 2 months later, we had 3 clients, and our turnover was nearly $2,000 a month, I think. But it's a while ago now. My memory's not like that. But then the next 6 months, we lost out one of the 2 bigger clients, and then the other bigger client they were going through some financial hardship, and they were like, we need to have our service. I'm like, okay, well, I still want to retain you as a client, so let's do that. And at that point, I'm like, hang on a minute, we've gone from nearly four figures a month to £500 a month. I'm like, this is a big problem. This is a big problem at the minute. But thankfully, I'm still being topped up by a part-time wage in the NHS, so I'm not feeling it at the minute. So then it was like, right, what's the next milestone? Let's secure another social media client. Let's get another one on the books. Don't want it to be anybody. I want it to be somebody who's going to stick around a long time. So that was the next step. The next step after that is, right, let's secure another website. It doesn't have to be a massive website, but let's just do that. Okay, so we've done that now. Those 2 have been ticked off. Let's go out and secure another social media client, or an SEO client, or a graphic design client. Let's just tick those off. And then, so once we kind of got to July, and that's probably when we were at the lowest point in terms of cash flow and everything like that, and we started gaining clients, it was right, let's get to Christmas. Get to Christmas, we've done well. We can have a bit of a relax, get to the new year. We got to the new year, right, okay, let's get to the financial year end. Let's take on another social media client and another website. Let's just keep things ticking. Let's just keep going. And then from there, it was like, right, let's target that networking event. We're doing this one at the minute, which is costing us £30 a month. Let's target that one where there's a bit more of a commitment. So we'll reach that. We know what our goals are as well. And then ultimately, I fleshed them out into personal goals for me. So instead of working evenings and weekends in the business, it was right, I want to be able to do a day and a half a week in the business, which I think it was after 15 months I achieved it. So it's like, right, okay, what's the next step? Okay, the next step is being able to do 3-4 days a week in the business. Next step after that, let's get some more clients in, just 1 or 2 more clients, which then allow me to self-serve myself, pay myself. And we got to that point and it's like, right, okay, now it's like, what's the next networking group? What's the next little target? And I think it was, like we had a couple of backward steps, like 2 big hits in a row at the beginning of the end of 23. Was it the end of 23? Yeah, I think it was. I think it was the end of 23. We took 2 big hits in a row, and I'm like, this is tough. And the step was, for me, the next day I woke up, I was sat there with my coffee, and I'm like, what am I going to do today? And the step forward for that is just turn your computer on and see what there is to do. That was the little step. You know, the analogy that I've now ended up using was, for me, anybody can run a marathon. It's just who's willing to take that first step. And it's having that mindset of, I just need to take that step. It might be a tiny step, something as simple as let's switch on the computer today. Let's just get that LinkedIn post out today. Just do that one thing. Then after that, it was like, right, what's the other big things that we can do? Well, what's the other targets we can do? So it was like, and it was almost like a reset back to year one. It's like, let's get to Christmas. Let's get to the new year. Got to midway through, I think it was 24. And I was introduced to somebody just on an absolute whim. It was like, can you look after this social media channel? Absolutely. Let's look after it. And he was like, right, I want to introduce you to this person and this person and this person. I'm like, this is great. You know, you are going to get the roughs with the smooths and stuff like that. But I was like, mid 24, I'm like, this can't get any better. This can't get any better. I joined then another step for me was I'd seen the Entrepreneur Accelerator program. I was like, that'd be a pretty good step for the business if I can get myself on that. So I applied for it, was lucky enough to get on it. And then I've been on that now over a year, or coming up to a year. And I've met some great people, but all the people that have gone through exactly the same troubles and strifes that I've gone through. So I was able to talk to them about it as well. And they give me ways of like, you know, your target for tomorrow is to turn back up here and talk to 2 people that you've not spoken to before. Yeah, I can do that. That's my next small step. They don't all have to be, we need to get to 15 grand a month turnover, you know, retained revenue. That doesn't have to be a target. It can be one of your bigger targets, but it can be just something as small as, let's go again. Let's go to that networking group, try everything once. So the small step for me to take my business to the next step is I'm going to try that Sales Sharks business club that I've never heard of, that only allows 15 people into the room. It might just be that you turn up and it either gives you the confidence boost that you need, or the right person is in the room at the right time that you can have a chat to and go, this is going to transform my business. And sometimes it's as simple as, let's just get to that date and go again. You know, we've done quite a lot of work at the beginning of this year. There's quite a lot on. And then it got to about mid-June. I was like, let's just get to Grand Prix weekend. I'm having 4 days off from business. Everything's sorted for that weekend. And I can come back on Monday and I can have a complete refresh. And I can just take myself out of the kind of business world and drop myself into sport. And I ended up talking about business whilst I was down there. Never got away from it. But because I'd kind of set that goal of just get to the Grand Prix, when I turned up on the Thursday, I'd set my tent up and opening a beer at 11 o'clock in the morning. I was fine. Life was good at that point. But it's just them small steps. Just them small steps. They can be anything, and you can apply them at any part of your life. It could be that you want to run a marathon. Just go out and do a walk. It's not a marathon, but it's a step in the right direction. Quite literally enough.
One step that you recently took, as we mentioned before, was that you joined the Speed of Science charity. And as you know, we spoke to John a couple of episodes ago. Wonderful man.
Great
And
guy, innit?
a heck of a goatee as well.
Oh, yeah. Top one.
Oh, no, honestly.
So good.
How did you end up joining that community, and how did it help you as a person, but also as a business as well?
From 2010, I've been a motorsport marshal. So if you ever watch a race and you see people waving flags or the little people in orange, you're like, oh, who are they? That's a motorsport marshal. Well, they're essentially, when things go wrong, we'll clean up the track. Been involved in that for 15 years, and about 2-3 years ago now, I had a bit of time, obviously running the business, and you're a master of your own time. My uncle, who's involved in the charity, was like, well, why don't you come down? We're short of a few marshals, just with it to go. All right, yeah, that's fine. It's bread and butter for me. It's not that big of a deal, no problem. So I went and did that. I just got chatting to them, just got chatting to John. Faz introduced me to John, he introduced me to Mike, he introduced me to Karen, and we just chatted, but they didn't know what I did at that point, and I didn't really know massively much about the charity. I was just there as a volunteer. Went back again, and then I started researching about the charity and what they were doing. I was like, this is amazing, giving these opportunities to people that have been told no, that they can do it. And then Faz reintroduced me to John again. What year are we now? 2025, back end of 23. He reintroduced me midway through 23, reintroduced me to John and said, look, Rob runs a digital marketing agency, specializes in social media. Is this something that could work with the charity? But John was like, maybe. So we met up, and things went quiet for about this, probably about 10 months after that, maybe a bit less. And then in February last year, 24, John was like, I remember talking to you, and I remember seeing you at track days, and you do social media, don't you? Digital marketing. Faz is mentioning it. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I do. He's like, could we have a meeting? I'm like, yeah, sure, let's have a meeting. Let's find out what you want to do. So we met up, me, Mike, John, and Karen, and we kind of came up with a plan of how we can get more content going out for them on social media that gives them a presence all the time. And then they signed the contract, and that's how we've ended up working with them since then. But since, starting with the charity, I've been so amazed by what they've done. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been told no, you can't do something before.
100%, many times.
And it feels rubbish. Like, who are you to tell me that I can't? So you're going to a track day where 20 to 30 people have been told no, not just by the peers, by the government, by the DVLA, probably not by the parents, but by other people of authority. Like, no, you can't drive. You're not fit to drive. And the Speed of Sight have gone, yeah, you can. Come and drive one of our cars. That is absolutely inspiring. And it's a really big push towards and a really big mindset shift of, yeah, you can do it. Anybody can do it. And that's what I was saying before about marathons. Anybody can do it. It's just a mindset. So to see Speed of Sight do that week in, week out, I was just like, this is amazing. I was so happy that they let me get involved. And then at the beginning of this year, I took the decision to join their Inspire Club and just give back as well. Volunteer for as many events that I can, because it's motorsport. I love motorsport, but genuinely because you go there and you don't see anybody not smiling. It's just everybody is loving the time that, and I'm like, this is what you should all be about. So that's where the connection came, Speed of Sight, and I'm so happy I did it.
I don't know about you, but when I'm told, that I can't do something, or when I'm told no, it kind of makes you want to do it even more. So having a charity like Speed of Sight, I can't imagine, the amount of the amount of gratefulness that people have for those charities. And there's
Absolutely. I mean, there is that kind of gets that fire in your belly when somebody says, no, you can't do that. I'm like, watch. Yeah, I'm going to do everything in my power to prove you wrong. And that's kind of one thing that I used for me, for business. So when I worked a very early job, I was probably fresh out of uni, probably only early 20s. And I was just like, the world was my oyster, big, bright, wide eyes. I'm going to take on the world and conquer it. I'm going to be the best journalist that you've ever seen, the best comms man, best marketer. And I went into this job and my manager was just like, I don't think you can't for this. I don't think this is for you. And I'm like, what? Like, I've just spent 4 years of my life training for this. What do you mean I can't do it? What do you mean it's not for me? And I do kind of hold that in my back of my mind. And when I'm having I'm struggling on a day, I kind of like drag it from somewhere at the back and be like, no, we need to prove them wrong. And that was a really big moment at the beginning of this year when I found out I'd been nominated for that award. I was just like, yeah, the proofs, because I don't know who nominated me for it. Fair play to them for it, whoever did it. But it was just that nice proof of, actually, yeah, I can do it. And I finally, taken me a bit longer than some other people, but over them 10 years, I've proved it wrong.
Let's switch it up completely. You're a family man, you're an incredible husband and you're an incredible father to an 11-month-old.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it a daughter or son?
Little girl called Maeve.
I can imagine that, especially them being so young and just other stuff that comes with family life, it can get quite, get quite a lot. There can be a lot to do. So how do you manage, to balance that while also maintaining a digital marketing business that's constantly, trying to grow every day?
I am very fortunate that I have probably got the best wife that has ever been bestowed to anybody. She just like, if she sees I'm busy, she's like, yeah, I'll do it, don't worry. And she just helps me. Which is why I said before, if you were to ask me, I've got no other employees, but if you were to ask her, she's definitely part of the, the fabric of the business. How you balance it, though, you've just got to be absolutely 100% of what your boundaries are. No business is 9 to 5, but then no business should be 24/7. Unless your business is to be 24/7. But for me, I don't need to be on my laptop at 12:45. I don't need to be doing that. So it's taken a bit of effort to get the plans and the processes in place of being able to scheduling social media in advance, making sure you've got dedicated time to do work and dedicated time for meetings. But it's dedicating and ring fencing those times of, this is family time, and nothing gets between that and family time. It has to be something pretty, extenuating that it is. A big example of that was we were working with the Marshals Club, and one of the very well-known post chiefs passed away very suddenly, 9 o'clock at night, and they wanted to do something for him. 45 minutes to an hour later, finally got everything finished, but that's an extenuating circumstance. It's a one-off. But just protect that time, because you'll never get it back. You'll absolutely never get it back. And if going on that holiday with your 11-month-old daughter and your wife means that you delay the growth of your business by 1 month, it's 1 month. You're not going to get their memories back, but that's a month. It's just a bit of a delay on the other end. Balancing it can be hard, though. You sometimes you're like, you have a day free and you're like, yep, great, I'm going to get loads of work done that day, and then all it takes is one website to go down that you've got no idea why it's gone down. You're like, how am I going to fix that? And then you spend all day doing that, and all the other tasks that you're supposed to have done just disappear. And then you've got to start working on them come 5, 6 o'clock at night. And it's like, I'm very fortunate at the moment because of how Maeve's bedtime routine works. She goes to bed. Me and Amy, my wife, have a bit of time in the evening, but there's like an hour before we go to bed where Amy will start getting things ready for bed for her. She'll do like her bedtime routine, and that just gives me a bit of time to jump on my laptop, get a few things checked off, maybe for the day after, things that I couldn't have done earlier in the day. I'll check a few things, and then I can go to bed as well. So yeah, we're still operating. She's doing something that I can't be involved in, so I can just get something done. But I'm hoping with a member of staff, that time does kind of come back. But then the idea is to top yourself up again with other things and grow the business that way.
Now, what I've seen is that when you do have some spare time, from your business life, from your family life, you're very into your motorsport, as we all know already, and you also like to play rugby as well.
When I'm not injured, I play rugby. Yeah.
Would you say that's your disconnect to reality, and is that how you deal with burnout?
I mean, playing rugby, you can't. You've had a tough day with a client, so you take it out on someone on a rugby pitch.
Yeah, perfect.
It's just a great way of letting off
steam. Perfect.
I've played rugby for 26 years.
Wow.
And so it's always been a part of my life. I don't remember a time where I didn't play rugby, which is a very scary thing that I've said that I'm retiring from rugby in 5 years. So what am I going to do after that? I don't know. I'd probably still be involved in the rugby somehow, but I've not had a part of my life where I've not had rugby every week. So that just becomes normal. That is part of the fabric of my week. Motorsport, again, been involved in that 15 years, but they are two very good disconnects. I think you've made a good point. There is a way of preventing burnout. I'm not thinking time and time again of, business. I'm not thinking about that next project. I'm not thinking where's the next sale coming from. It is at that moment in time, what's happening on the rugby pitch or what is happening on the racetrack. And you've not got capacity to think about those things that are bothering you at that time. And normally once you've played 80 minutes of rugby and you come off the pitch and you've let off a bit of steam and you're sore and you're having a few beers with the lads afterwards in the clubhouse, you then kind of sit and think, going, that thing that was really eating me up in the week isn't that big of a thing. It felt bigger because I was stressed. It felt bigger because it was on top of everything else that I was doing. And then, like I said, I was looking forward to the British Grand Prix last weekend from when we're recording this. That it was just, I could disconnect straight away. And my focus was have a good time at the Grand Prix. And that's what I've got motorsport again tomorrow, another day, but that's just a one day. And then the Sunday, I'm out with the family. So it's another good chance to disconnect and really nice.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially with rugby, it's quite hard to think about your business when you got a 6'7" hench guy running right at you at full pace.
I'm not having it that when your heads are smashed together in a scrum, that anybody can think, oh, I wonder what my cash flow's like. Not happening. You're thinking about, how do I not get folded up like a pretzel here and make sure that we win the ball? That is what you're thinking at that time.
You're thinking of survival.
Yeah. Or the one that I had the other week when we were training was, how do I continue to breathe? That's what I need to do. I just need to make sure that I can remember, because we'd done a lot. It was a very hard flogging session, but I was just like, right, we just need to breathe. Just need to breathe. And then that's got out of that. And then, but I wasn't thinking, oh, I wonder if I need to pay that invoice this week. And that never even crossed my mind.
That was
far from it. In fact, I was probably thinking more about what I was having for tea before I went. When I got home, I was just like, right, done this hard session. I refueled, got some good water, and be like, what's for tea now? If I get home and I've only got like pork chops in the fridge, and I've got to put it with some like salad as well. I'm not about that. But I got home and it's like salmon, fish cakes, and like couscous. I'm like, yeah, man, tonight's a good night. Tonight is a good night. I mean, I looked in the fridge before and I was like, what's for tea? What's for tea? And there's just this joint of gammon in there that I'm slow cooking. I'm like, yes, this is a good night.
No, I've done the same thing. And then, there's sometimes when it gets to, when you open the fridge that much that, when you first look, there's nothing in there. But then you keep looking and looking, and then your brain just adapts, it just adapts to whatever there is in there.
I'm just I love it. How good's food?
Yeah,
Like, how good's food?
amazing. It's actually amazing. If you think about the part that we needed to survive, it's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, that for me is just, what's the thing? That's just a byproduct of just how good food is. It helps you survive, but I love it. You know, if any client wants to work with me, if you take me out for food, I want to work with you.
Yeah. So you've got your business, and you've also got your blog as well, and you've got an interest in motorsport, rugby. You've got a lot of stuff going on. And one thing that you mentioned before, and also one thing that I saw was that at one point you said you was doing too much. Now, what is too much, and how did you draw that line of too much? Because with entrepreneurship, it consists of constant dreams, constant visions. You're doing things left, right, center. So how did you draw that line of, I'm doing too much? Let me slow down.
So my wife drew that line for me. No, well, she did, and she didn't. It was during coming out of COVID, actually. So before I even had the business, at the time I had the blog, I had a Life with Orange. That also had a podcast attached to it as well. We had the music website that had a podcast attached to it, 2 podcasts attached to it, actually. And then we had a podcast around athletics as well, because there wasn't a good athletic podcast out there at the time. Plus, I was trying to work full time. I also decided I was wanting to write some books, and I was training for a marathon, and I was planning a wedding, and I was trying to go out and have a social life, and I was trying to spend time with my wife. I was trying to watch TV. I was trying to eat. I was trying to fix a bike. I was trying to mend a guitar. And then after that, and then you throw in the fact at the end of all that, I wanted to run a business. It was like, something's got to give here. Something has got to give. Now, the music website went quite early on coming out of COVID. Like I said earlier, it was we went back to work. It's like, oh, we've got too much time. We've not got enough time, sorry. And it was like, okay, so that stopped straight away. And then it was a case of, right, let's break things down a bit here. What do I enjoy doing? Now, I like the athletics podcast, but my knowledge of it wasn't as good as whatever it was that was needed to be done to make it successful. So I was like, that's not for me. I need to kind of knock that one on the head. And then instead of then trying to remove things like that in like a systematic way, me and my wife came up with an idea of, let's just strip it down to the bare basics. What do I need to do? So I need to go to work, or I need to run the business. I need to spend time with my wife. I need to plan the wedding. Those are 3 things that are absolutely non-negotiable. But I also need to go and play rugby, which I can do. It's an hour and a half of my time a week. And I also need to go and marshal it, which is 1 day a week at one time, but not every week. So those 5 things that's the baseline. Any time after that, let's figure out what we can do. And I just sat at that level until the wedding had passed. So I put a Life in Orange on the back burner, I put the music website on the back burner, the books on the back burner. Oh, and I was also training for a marathon as well. So that also needed to be done. But then once the marathon was over, I didn't need to train for it anymore. So then that time freed up, and it was like, right, let's create 3 lists. What is the absolute minimum? What's our control? That's one list. What are things that we would like to do soon that will be, would be a nice little earner or a nice little project that we could do, which is why Life in Orange has now come back and he's really started to get legs again. That was the next thing that we ticked off. And then the third thing is, what's a 1 day? 1 day we'll do that. 1 day we'll get to that. So I mentioned as well that I've got a wedding business with my wife. So we both kind of run that together. That's very much in its infancy, which is why it's a like to do now, and I can do it. However, a bit further down the line, it might grow more legs and it might move across, or it might be, we'll get somebody else into running. In the 1 day, you've got the books, you've got maybe firing up the athletics podcast again, bringing back the music podcast, all those other things that 1 day I'd love to do. They sit in there, and until they can move across into that I've got time to do, they stay there. but I've got that list. It's in the drawer. And that's where it stays. And that's where we draw the line. If any of those things that I'm supposed to be doing one day start drifting into what I'm doing today, they've quickly got to go back out again, because they'll just suffocate all your time.
Imagine I'm an investor or I'm a potential lead for your company, Slingshot Digital. I want you to pitch your business, in a way, just describe it in a way that you would, as if you were trying to gain my money, or gain my clientele, I'd say.
So obviously we'll be meeting for the first time. I'd like to get to know you a bit more first. If we were doing it down that route, maybe meet up for a coffee, get to know what kind of ticks your boxes, and a bit more about the business as well. So what your pain points are. But then moving on to it, it's like, so social media is something that you're struggling with. Is it the time that you're struggling with, or is it, you feel like you're getting to about 5:30 in the evening and you've not posted anything and you're panicking, you want to get something out. All right, okay, what about content? Is that something that you're struggling with?
Yeah, I just can't think of, the good content that really puts my brand out there.
All right, okay, so what's kind of happening in your business right now?
Let's say let's say it's a culinary business. I've got a restaurant, but I sell Indian food. But I just can't seem to get the word out properly. I can't seem to follow those trends online and just gain people's attention.
Yeah. All right. Have you got any like specialty dishes that you run?
I make a banging butter chicken.
Do you? Yeah. Well, I'll come and try that one day. I actually hope that's true. By the way, just go and break in character. If you do, please let me try it. So, okay. So you've got your specialty dishes. Are there any like specials that you do on certain days? Have you got any events coming up? Have you been recognized for any awards recently?
Not as of now, just because I'm kind of like a startup business.
All right, okay. So in terms of like where you are now or where you want to go, I think it's very much a case of showcasing where you are, your specialty dishes, what kind of makes you a bit different. People will be leaving your reviews on Google once you've had a good service. We can share some of them. But let's actually showcase where you are as well. Let's have some like nice videos of you making that really good, butter chicken. So when people look at it, they're almost dribbling at the side of their mouth going, this is amazing. I get that you're a startup, so we'll work with you on that one. But essentially what I think is if you post 3 to 4 times a week with a good mixture of statics, videos, and graphics, then I think people will start seeing what you are and what you do, and everybody will come trying the number 1 butter chicken in the Northwest.
There we go. Say that louder for the people and I'm fine.
Well, the number 1 butter chicken in the Northwest. I want this butter chicken now. I've actually sold the butter chicken to myself.
Beautiful, isn't it? I might get it today. I really want to make it today.
Make it.
I'll send some down your way.
Please do.
Now, we have an ongoing tradition on this podcast where we try and use the community that we're building up to help our guests that come onto our podcast and even help each other as well. So, Rob, I want to ask you, is there something that you as a business struggle with that a community member can potentially find a solution or even give you some sort of advice and feedback?
The one for me, and I think it's always going to be my personal issue, is time management. That business coach mind of sometimes I can't remember the name of the thing, but it's like a box and there's like 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's like 1 is urgent and important or whatever it is. Yeah, whatever that matrix is called. And some people will just jump between 1 and 4. And sometimes I find myself in that, but I don't want to be doing that. So if there's somebody in the community that is an amazing business coach that can get me out of that mindset and get me focusing on the absolute priorities and not getting bogged down with a website's gone down and there's absolutely nothing I can do about it straight away and letting it consume 8 hours of my life, then they're the people I want to talk to.
I'm sure there will be people in our community, and we'll also put your details in the description below so they can contact you.
Amazing.
That should be good. But okay, what's next then for Slingshot Campus, for Slingshot Digital?
What's next? Well, we've already mentioned it before. Recruitment is definitely something that's on the cards in the near future. a route that we're just going into now. It is really exciting. We're just starting to tender and bid for government and local authority contracts, which again, another exciting part of the journey. Very much so a big step, because it's just been a bit, like I said, we're on that periphery there. It's a little bit uncomfortable. It's a little bit comfortable. Let's take them steps forward. So that's a really exciting opportunity for us and where we're going, where we want to go to. In the longer term, we've got this year left with BNI, which we're going to see that out. Seems to be going well. But then something that I'm potentially kind of toying with is setting up social media workshops for people, for businesses, so they can come, they can learn a bit more about some tips and tricks of running social media themselves, and how they can look for content, how they can generate content, how they can make sure that they're scheduled ahead of time, and really keep on top of the social media channels if they can't outsource it at the moment.
I think that'll definitely get your name out, but also bring that help in to those maybe startup companies that don't really know what to do.
That's the thing. You mentioned community before. It's all about building those communities. Social media is just another community that you've got to build up. And, if I can help somebody build their own community up within their social media, then, that's a really positive thing that I've done.
There we go. And on that note, Rob, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on today's episode. I wish you nothing but the best of luck, not only for yourself, but for your business as well.
Thank you very much, Howard. It's been an absolute pleasure to be on, and please send some butter chicken my way.
Oh, 100%.
Thank you.
Believe it. Thank you very much once again, mate.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Bye-bye.